Deep in the void between the stars, first observer Nixis adjusted her crystalline sensors, triple-checking the readings that defied everything she understood about spacecraft design. The vessel that had appeared at the edge of Ziraxian space violated at least 6 fundamental principles of starship engineering. Yet there it was, a behemoth of angular metal and pulsing energy fields that dwarfed her scout ship. "Impossible," she whispered, her bioluminescent patches flickering with agitation. "High Commander, you need to see this." High Commander Vexari glided across the bridge of the Stellar Seeker, her translucent appendages rippling with calculated grace. The Ziraxian collective prided itself on being the most advanced civilization in known space, their organic technology hybrid ships representing the pinnacle of scientific achievement. Yet something about this unknown vessel made her primary sensory cluster pulse with unease. Report, First Observer. The vessel's energy signature exceeds anything in our database. Its hull composition. Nixis paused, recalibrating her instruments. It appears to be layered with materials we've theorized but never successfully synthesized. And the power output. She trailed off, her chrome-flecked skin darkening with concern. "Show me," Vexari commanded. The holographic display materialized between them, showing the massive ship in all its brutal elegance. Unlike the smooth, organic lines of Ziraxian vessels, this ship bristled with what could only be weapon emplacements. Its hull was a patchwork of scarred metal and fresh plating, telling a story of battles fought and survived. "It's accelerating," Nixis announced, her voice tight, moving to intercept our position. "Open communications on all standard frequencies," Vexari ordered. "Let's not." The ship's systems chirped, indicating an incoming transmission. The unknown vessel had beaten them to it. The holographic display shifted, revealing a sight that caused both Ziraxians to involuntarily retreat a step. The being on the screen was Bictal, covered in some form of rigid uniform, with exposed skin that seemed terrifyingly vulnerable to the void of space. Its face was a collection of hard angles and strange protrusions, and its eyes held something the Ziraxians had never seen in their centuries of peaceful exploration. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Pride of Terra," the being announced, its voice carrying an authority that transcended species barriers. "You've entered a human-controlled sector. State your intentions." Vexari moved forward, her diplomatic training taking over. "I am High Commander Vexari of the Ziraxian Collective Scout Ship Stellar Seeker. We are peaceful explorers, cataloging this region of space. We had no knowledge this sector was claimed." The human's expression remained unchanged, but something shifted in those alien eyes. "Your ship's scanning systems are quite sophisticated, High Commander. We detected multiple attempts to probe our hull structure and internal systems." Nixis's sensor clusters contracted in shock. They shouldn't have been able to detect the passive scans, let alone track them with such precision. "A standard protocol for first contact situations," Vexari explained smoothly. "We mean no offense. Your vessel is unlike anything we have encountered in our exploration of the galaxy." A slight curve appeared at the edges of the human's mouth. "The Pride of Terra is our newest Titan-class battleship, one of many defending human space against." Captain Chen paused, something dark flickering across her features. "Against those who would threaten our existence." Battleship. Vexari's translation matrix struggled with the concept. Surely such military power is unnecessary in these peaceful times. The Ziraxian Collective has explored thousands of systems, establishing diplomatic relations with dozens of species. We have found that technological advancement naturally leads to peaceful cooperation. Chen's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. "High Commander, I'm about to show you something that will explain our position. Please maintain your current distance from our vessel." The transmission shifted to a new image that caused Vexari's entire body to pulse with horror. A world burned. Massive organic shapes tore through cities, while smaller ships fought desperately in the skies above. The footage was raw, unstable, clearly recorded during the chaos of battle. Earth, 15 years ago. Chen's voice continued over the footage. Our first contact with alien life. No demands, no attempts at communication. They came to consume, to destroy. We lost 2 billion people in the first week. The images shifted again, showing human ships, cruder versions of the Pride of Terra, engaging the monstrous organic vessels. Despite being obviously outmatched in technology and size, the human ships fought with devastating effectiveness, using tactics that seemed to defy conventional space combat doctrine. We survived, Chen continued, her voice carrying steel and sorrow in equal measure. We adapted. We built bigger ships, better weapons. We learned that the galaxy isn't the peaceful place your collective believes it to be. The Pride of Terra exists because it must. The transmission returned to Chen's face. We welcome peaceful contact with your people, High Commander. But understand this, humanity will never again be caught unprepared. We build our ships for war not because we want to fight, but because we must be ready to defend ourselves and others who can't. Vexeri felt her entire worldview shifting. The Zeraxian collective had achieved its technological supremacy through millennia of peaceful development. The idea that advancement could be driven by conflict, by necessity. It challenged everything she believed. Perhaps, she said carefully, we have much to learn from each other, Captain Chen. Would you be open to a diplomatic exchange? Our database shows our species are biologically compatible enough to share the same atmospheric conditions. We would welcome that, High Commander. But first, Chen glanced at something off-screen. Our long-range sensors are detecting unusual gravitational distortions at the edge of this sector, patterns consistent with the kind of rifts they used during the first invasion. Vexeri's sensor clusters contracted. They? You mean the beings from your historical footage? Yes. Chen's face was grim. High Commander, you're about to witness firsthand why humanity builds ships like the Pride of Terra. I suggest you move your vessel behind ours and prepare for combat. The Ravagers have returned. As warning klaxons began to sound throughout both ships, Vexeri realized that the galaxy as she knew it was about to change forever. The peaceful exploration mission had become something else entirely, a first-hand lesson in why humanity had chosen to build such formidable weapons of war. And soon, she suspected, the Zeraxian collective would be thankful they had. The gravitational sensors aboard the Stellar Seeker screamed warnings as space itself seemed to tear open at the edge of the sector. High Commander Vexeri watched in horror as massive shapes emerged from the dimensional rifts, organic vessels that seemed to corrupt the very vacuum around them with their presence. By the first light, First Observer Nixis whispered, her crystalline sensors struggling to process the nightmare before them. There must be dozens of them. 37 capital ships detected. Captain Chen's voice came through the comm channel, calm and measured. 3 carrier-class organisms, their launching spores. The Pride of Terra's massive form moved with unexpected grace, positioning itself between the Zeraxian scout ship and the approaching horror. Vexeri observed in fascination as sections of the human vessel's hull began to shift and transform, revealing weapon systems that had been completely hidden from their initial scans. High Commander, Chen's tone carried absolute authority now. Fall back to coordinates I'm transmitting. What you're about to witness may challenge your understanding of warfare. Before Vexeri could respond, smaller ships began launching from the Pride of Terra. Fighters unlike anything in the Zeraxian database. They moved with impossible agility, their engines leaving trails of blue fire against the void. This is Pride Actual to all Testament Squadron pilots. Chen's voice echoed across the command channel she granted the Zeraxians access to. Execute Protocol Omega. Show our guests why humanity still stands. The human fighters accelerated toward the oncoming Ravager spores, organic fighter analogs that outnumbered them at least 5 to 1. Vexeri expected them to break off, to retreat in the face of such overwhelming odds. Instead, the human ships accelerated. They're going to be massacred, Nixis stated, her voice trembling. The energy readings from those organic vessels, they're far beyond anything those small craft could hope to. Her voice cut off as the human fighters engage. What followed defied everything the Ziraxians knew about space combat. The human vessels moved like they were ignoring the laws of physics, pulling maneuvers that should have turned their pilots to paste. Each ship seemed to fight with a desperate creativity, never repeating the same pattern twice. Impossible, Nixus whispered as the first wave of Ravager spores began to fall. They're winning. No, Chen's voice carried a grim note. We're just getting started. Pride of Terra, execute main battery revelation sequence. Show them what humanity built from the ashes of our first contact. The massive human vessel's hulls split along previously invisible seams, entire sections rotating and transforming. What had appeared to be armor plating reconfigured into weapon systems that made Vexari's sensor clusters pulse with disbelief. Energy spike. Nixus called out. It's beyond our ability to measure. The Pride of Terra fired. The beam that erupted from its main cannon was unlike anything the Ziraxians had ever witnessed. It wasn't just energy. It was a corruption of space-time itself, a weapon born from humanity's desperate study of their enemy's own technology. The blast struck the nearest Ravager capital ship, and for a moment, reality seemed to hiccup. When Vexari's vision cleared, the organic vessel was simply gone, along with everything in a straight line behind it for what must have been thousands of kilometers. By the void, Vexari breathed. What have you created? We call it the Void Lance, Chen replied, her voice hard. Reverse-engineered from studying how they tear open space for their attacks. Humanity's first gift from our uninvited guests. The battle continued to unfold before them, a testament to humanity's evolution from prey to predator. The Pride of Terra moved with practiced precision, its weapons systems demonstrating capabilities that should have been impossible for a species so new to interstellar travel. High Commander, Chen's voice cut through Vexari's shock. We're detecting more rifts forming. This isn't a raid. It's an invasion force. I've already sent a signal to the nearest human battle group, but they're hours away at best. Vexari felt her core temperature drop. The nearest Ziraxian defense fleet is 3 days at maximum speed. Our border outposts will be overrun, Chen finished, unless we hold here. Your ship's sensors are more advanced than ours. We need that edge. Fight with us, and I promise you'll understand exactly why humanity built ships like Pride of Terra. For a moment, Vexari hesitated. Everything she knew about proper first contact protocol, about the Ziraxian collective's careful diplomatic approach to the galaxy, demanded she retreat and consult with the High Council. Then she watched another wave of Ravager ships tear their way into normal space, their organic forms writhing with hungry purpose, and she remembered the footage Chen had shown them of Earth's first contact. Stellar Seeker will hold position, she announced. Our sensors are yours, Captain Chen. Show us how humanity fights. Redirect all power to forward shields. Chen commanded her crew. Spin up secondary Void Lance batteries. Let's give our new allies a proper demonstration of human hospitality. As the Pride of Terra's weapons charged for another salvo, Vexari realized she was about to witness something few species ever had. Humanity fighting at its full potential, unleashing the terrible power they had forged in the crucible of survival. The galaxy would never be the same after this day, and perhaps she thought as she watched the human vessel prepare for war, that was exactly what it needed. Space distorted as another wave of Ravager ships tore through the dimensional barrier, their organic hulls pulsing with sickly bioluminescence. The Pride of Terra stood its ground, its advanced weapon systems cutting through the void with devastating precision, while Testament Squadron's fighters danced through the chaos like comets gone mad. Multiple biosignatures detecting from the new arrivals, Nixus reported, her crystalline sensors working in perfect sync with the human vessel's targeting systems. They're different from the others, more evolved. Captain Chen's voice carried a note of recognition that sent chills through Vexari's core. Omega-class combat forms. They've adapted to our tactics faster than expected. Pride of Terra to all units. Execute Scatter Protocol Delta. Do not, I repeat, do not engage the new contacts directly. The human fighters broke formation instantly, splitting into smaller groups that seemed to move with impossible coordination. Vexeri watched in fascination as they executed maneuvers that looked like chaos but contained patterns so complex her tactical computers couldn't predict them. High Commander, Chen's voice cut through the battle chatter. Your sensors are picking up details ours can't see. What can you tell us about their new bioweapons? Vexeri studied the data streaming through the Stellar Seeker's advanced systems. They're generating some form of localized gravity distortion, similar to your Void Lance technology, but more organic, unstable. They're copying this. Chen's voice was grim, learning from every encounter. This is how they operate. Absorb, adapt, evolve. Each battle makes them stronger. A massive Ravager vessel suddenly accelerated toward them, its forward section splitting open like some nightmarish flower. Energy began to build within its organic accelerator cores. Incoming gravitational surge. Nixes called out. The yield, it's matching pride of Terra's main battery. They want to test their new toy against ours. Chen's response was almost amused. Helm, bring us about. All power to forward a race. Show them the difference between copying technology and understanding it. The pride of Terra's main Void Lance battery aligned with the approaching Ravager ship. Both vessels fired simultaneously, their gravitational weapons meeting in space between them. Reality itself seemed to scream as the forces collided. For a moment, Vexeri feared both ships would be destroyed. Then something remarkable happened. The pride of Terra's beam began to twist, to spiral around the Ravager's attack instead of meeting it head-on. The human weapon curved impossibly, bypassing the enemy's gravitational surge entirely and striking the organic vessel's unprotected flank. The Ravager ship died spectacularly, its stolen technology overloading and creating a cascade of spatial distortions that ripped it apart from the inside out. How, Vexeri's question died in her throat as she watched the human vessel's smaller weapons continue to fire with devastating precision. They can copy our technology, Chen explained, but they don't understand the principles behind it. We spent years studying how their dimensional rifts work, learning to manipulate space-time itself. They're just blindly replicating what they see. A new alarm blared through both ships. Nixus's sensors pulsed with urgent data. Multiple signatures emerging from hyperspace. Large fleet, hundreds of ships. Vexeri felt her heart sink. If more Ravager forces were arriving, even the impressive human vessel couldn't. About time. Chen's voice carried a smile. Pride of Terra to 7th Fleet. Welcome to the party, Admiral. The ships that emerged from hyperspace were human, each one a different variation on the Pride of Terra's design philosophy. Smaller, faster corvettes. Huge, blocky carriers. Sleek destroyers bristling with weapon systems. All of them bore the scars of previous battles, their hulls marked with hastily repaired damage and proud battle honors. This is Admiral Santos. A new voice joined the command channel. Sorry we're late, Captain Chen. Had to pick up some friends along the way. More ships appeared, these ones bearing markings Vexeri recognized. The insignia of the Zeraxian Defense Fleet. Somehow, the humans had contacted and coordinated with her people's forces without anyone detecting their communications. Zeraxian High Command sends their regards. Admiral Santos continued. They were quite interested in what Captain Chen had to share about our mutual problem. Shall we demonstrate how humanity does joint operations, Captain? The Pride of Terra's response was to launch another salvo from its Void Lance, creating a gap in the Ravager line that the newly arrived human and Zeraxian ships immediately exploited. The two fleets moved together as if they trained for years, the Zeraxians' advanced sensors guiding the humans' devastating weapons. High Commander, Chen's voice carried urgency now. We're detecting unusual activity from the largest Ravager vessel. They're attempting to open a massive dimensional rift, probably calling for reinforcements. Your sensors are our best chance at finding a weakness before they succeed. Vexeri didn't hesitate. The time for careful protocol was long past, directing all sensor power to their rift generator, transmitting data to Pride of Terra's targeting systems now. The battle had become a race against time. The massive Ravager vessel continued its work while smaller ships sacrificed themselves to protect it. Human and Zeraxian vessels fought with increasing coordination, but the enemy's numbers seemed endless. There, Nixis suddenly called out, a fluctuation in their field geometry. If we hit it with exactly the right frequency. Transmit targeting data to all Void Lance-equipped vessels, Chen commanded. Admiral Santos, requesting synchronized fire on my mark. The Pride of Terra's main battery began to pulse with power once again, but this time something was different. The energy signature was changing, modulating based on the Stellar Seeker's sensor data. All ships, stand by for primary weapon release. Chen's voice was steady. Let's show these assimilating bastards what happens when humanity and the Zeraxian collective work together. As the human vessels prepared to fire, Vexari realized she was witnessing more than just a battle. This was the moment two civilizations truly understood each other. One forged in peace, one forged in war, combining their strengths to face a threat greater than either could handle alone. The galaxy would never be the same, and that, she realized, was exactly what both their peoples needed. The combined human and Zeraxian fleet moved as one, their formation tightening around the Pride of Terra as it prepared to fire. The massive Ravager mothership continued its work, the dimensional rift growing larger with each passing moment, reality itself groaning under the strain. All Void Lance batteries synchronized, Chen reported. Stellar Seeker, we need those sensor readings. What are we looking at? Nix's crystalline sensors pulsed rapidly as she analyzed the growing anomaly. The rift is unstable. They've sacrificed safety protocols to accelerate the process. If we can disrupt it, it'll collapse back on itself, Chen finished, taking their flagship with it. Admiral Santos, are your ships in position? Ready on your mark, Captain, the Admiral responded. Zeraxian vessels are providing targeting solutions now. I must say, their sensor technology is remarkable. The pride in Admiral Santos's voice wasn't lost on Vexari. In the heat of battle, ancient Zeraxian technology and humanity's raw innovative power had proven to be a devastating combination. The Ravagers' attempts to adapt were failing in the face of this unprecedented cooperation. Multiple hostile signatures emerging from secondary rifts. Nixis called out. They're trying to screen the mothership. Smaller Ravager vessels poured from dimensional tiers in space, their organic forms twisted into new configurations that mimicked both human and Zeraxian ship designs. It was a desperate attempt to counter the alliance that had formed before their eyes. Predictable, Chen's voice carried a sharp edge. They're still just copying without understanding. Admiral, execute Protocol Omega-7. The human fleet suddenly split apart, smaller ships moving in patterns that seemed random but matched calculations Stellar Seeker's computers had been quietly running. The Ravagers attempted to mirror the formation, their stolen technology allowing them to match the humans' maneuvers exactly. That was exactly what Chen had been waiting for. Now, she commanded. Every human ship activated their engines simultaneously, but instead of moving, they cut power in a precisely timed sequence. The Ravager ships, programmed to copy human tactics, followed suit, leaving them drifting and vulnerable for a crucial few seconds. All ships, fire. The Pride of Terra's Void Lance erupted alongside dozens of others, their beams synchronized using Zeraxian sensor data to create a gravitational resonance cascade. The Ravager ships, their stolen systems still trying to copy the previous maneuver, couldn't react in time. Space itself seemed to shatter as the combined blast struck the mothership's growing rift. For a moment, nothing happened. Then reality began to fold in on itself. Dimensional collapse in progress. Nixis reported, her voice tight with excitement and fear. The rift is becoming unstable. All ships need to clear the area immediately. The human and Zeraxian vessels moved with practiced precision, falling back to a safe distance as the Ravager mothership struggled against the forces tearing it apart. Its organic hull began to twist and distort as the failed rift collapsed inward. By the first light, Vexari whispered as she watched the massive vessel being consumed by its own dimensional technology. The power involved. That's the difference between understanding technology and merely copying it, Chen stated grimly. They never bothered to learn the principles behind dimensional manipulation. They just stole and adapted. Against a single species, that might work, but against an alliance. The mothership's death throes sent gravitational waves rippling through space. The remaining Ravager vessels, their controlling intelligence lost with their flagship, began to drift aimlessly or turn on each other in confused fury. All ships, clear the debris field, Admiral Santos ordered. Let them destroy themselves. No sense wasting ammunition on a beaten enemy. As Vexari watched the remnants of the Ravager fleet tear itself apart, she felt a profound shift in her understanding of the galaxy. The Zeraxian collective had achieved greatness through peaceful exploration and careful scientific advancement. Humanity had been forged in the crucible of survival, forced to innovate and adapt at an unprecedented pace. Apart, each civilization had its strengths and weaknesses. Together, they were something entirely new. Captain Chen, she spoke carefully, choosing her words with diplomatic precision. I believe the Zeraxian High Council will be very interested in discussing a more permanent alliance with humanity. Agreed. Chen's response was immediate. The Ravagers won't be the last threat we face out here. They're just the ones who taught us the importance of being ready. And what of your ship? Vexari asked, looking at the scared but triumphant form of the Pride of Terra. Will all human vessels be so formidable? There was a smile in Chen's voice as she responded. High Commander, what you've seen today is just the beginning. Humanity has learned that peace must be protected. We build our ships for war, not because we want to fight, but because we refuse to let what happened to Earth happen to anyone else. The Pride of Terra's engines flared to life, its massive form turning toward the gathered fleet with graceful precision. Around it, human and Zeraxian ships moved in formation, their crews already working together as if they'd been allies for years instead of hours. Now then, Chen continued, shall we discuss the future of our alliance? I believe both our peoples have much to learn from each other. As Vexari looked at the battlefield, at the remnants of an enemy that had threatened both their civilizations, she knew the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity's drive to survive and protect, combined with Zeraxian technology and wisdom, would create something unprecedented. The age of peaceful exploration was over. The age of protected peace had begun. 2 weeks after the battle, the Pride of Terra's observation deck offered a spectacular view of the joint human-Zeraxian fleet conducting their first official combined exercises. Sleek Zeraxian vessels moved in perfect formation with angular human warships, their crews learning to work together in ways neither species had imagined possible before the Ravager attack. High Commander Vexari stood beside Captain Chen, their reflections overlapping in the reinforced viewport. The human captain's uniform now bore a new insignia, a hybrid of human and Zeraxian symbols representing the newly formed Joint Defense Initiative. The High Council's decision was unanimous. Vexari announced, her bioluminescent patches pulsing with measured satisfaction. The defensive alliance has been formally ratified. They were particularly impressed by the combat data from Pride of Terra's engagement with the Ravager mothership. Chen nodded, her eyes tracking a group of human fighters practicing precision maneuvers alongside Zeraxian interceptors. And your scientists? Have they finished their initial analysis of our void lance technology? They're still trying to process how your species managed to weaponize dimensional mechanics so quickly, Vexari admitted. The general consensus is that it should have taken centuries of careful research, not a desperate few years of warfare. A small smile crossed Chen's face. Necessity is a powerful motivator, High Commander. When failure means extinction, you'd be amazed what humans can accomplish. So we're learning. Vexeri turned to face her human counterpart. The technology exchange has already yielded remarkable results. Your engineer's practical approach to problems, combined with our theoretical framework, the potential is staggering. The observation deck's doors slid open as Admiral Santos entered, followed by First Observer Nixis. The Xerexian scientists' crystalline sensors were still configured to interface with human targeting systems, a modification that had proven so effective it was being standardized across both fleets. The joint patrol schedules are finalized, Santos announced. We're establishing combined response forces at key points along both our borders. No single sector will be left vulnerable. The Ravagers aren't gone, Chen reminded them. That was just one fleet, one invasion force. They'll be back, and they'll have learned from this defeat. Let them come. Nixis's sensors pulsed with unexpected intensity. Every encounter provides more data, more opportunities to understand their dimensional technology. Together, we can develop countermeasures faster than they can adapt. The Pride of Terra shuddered slightly as its main engines came online. The massive vessel began to move, taking its position at the head of the combined fleet. From this vantage point, the sight was breathtaking. Hundreds of ships from two vastly different civilizations, united in common cause. We've received word from Earth, Santos said, his voice carrying a note of pride. The first Xerexian diplomatic delegation has arrived. They're already discussing plans for a permanent embassy and joint research facilities. And the military academy? Chen asked. Construction begins next month. The first class will include equal numbers of human and Xerexian cadets, training together from day one. Vexeri's sensor clusters pulsed with approval. My people are learning much from yours, Captain Chen. Not just about warfare, but about adaptability. About facing challenges we never imagined possible. And we're learning from you, Chen replied. Your scientific methods, your diplomatic protocols, they're helping us move beyond mere survival mode, teaching us how to build something lasting from the lessons we learned in war. A flash of light caught their attention. Outside, a new vessel was decelerating into formation with the fleet. Its design was unlike anything seen before, a perfect fusion of human and Xerexian engineering principles. The prototype for a new class of ships that would defend both their peoples. The Harmony of Stars, Santos announced. First of the Alliance-class vessels. Xerexian sensors, human weapons, and a few innovations even the Ravagers won't see coming. A new era, Vexeri mused, watching the prototype take its place in the fleet. Not what either of our peoples expected, perhaps, but exactly what we needed. That's the thing about the universe, Chen said, her hand resting on the viewport's frame. It doesn't care what you expect. It cares what you do when those expectations are shattered. The combined fleet began to move in perfect synchronization, preparing for their first joint patrol of the border regions. Human and Xerexian ships, once so different in philosophy and design, now complemented each other perfectly. To the future, then, Vexeri offered, using the human gesture of raising an imaginary glass. To the future, Chen agreed, and to proving that sometimes the best way to preserve peace is to be ready for war. As the Pride of Terra led the fleet toward their patrol route, both species knew that something unprecedented had been born in the crucible of that battle. The Ravagers had sought to exploit the galaxy's divisions, counting on civilizations to stand alone against their onslaught. Instead, they had forced humanity and the Xerexian collective to overcome their differences, to forge an alliance that would reshape the very nature of interstellar civilization. Together, they would face whatever threats emerged from the darkness between the stars. And together, they would prevail.